The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
My first appearance, Bischoff comes to me and they have it written down. This is what we want you to say. This is what we want you to start with. Say anything else after that? We want you to start with this. You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here.
Ah yes, that famous line from Scott Hall that started it all. You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. And that's how it all began, with Scott Hall invading the May 27th edition of WCW Nitro. Everybody was like, hey, it's Razor Ramon from the WWF. What's he doing here? And that is really what kick-started this nWo angle. Fans just simply didn't know what was really going on here. A guy from WWF, he's now in WCW. It was a great angle, a really good way of doing it. And by God, it worked.
It was really working to our advantage because to the fans, we're Razor and Diesel.
Right.
The only reason any of that nWo stuff worked because we're coming off that hot New York TV.
Right.
No, that's not a secret to anybody.
From there, Kevin Nash joined. Then the official formation of the group at Bash at the Beach 1996, with Hulk Hogan, the good guy, the red and yellow, joining this group of bad guys. That just put the icing on the cake. And this thing was off and running on all cylinders. But Hogan really wasn't sure if he was going to become an nWo member until the 11th hour, and the backup plan was Sting.
And at that point, Hogan hadn't determined whether or not he was going to jump aboard and turn heel, so the backup plan was Sting.
So how would have the angle gone if Sting had have joined the nWo instead of Hogan? Well, we'll never know. But Hogan sure was a massive catalyst to get this thing kicked off and running. As Kevin Nash has always said himself, Hogan gave the whole thing legitimacy, and just the total shock that the red and yellow Hulk Hogan would turn on his fans after all those years of being a hero and suddenly become an anti-hero.
Even though the red and yellow thing was starting to lose a little bit of luster, and it was getting old, because we were going to go with Sting. I said, bro, you can't go with Sting. He's not WWF from head to toe. It's in my blood. I mean, I'm the guy.
So it was on. Something that the wrestling business had never quite seen before. This group of misfits would cheat to win, outnumber and beat up anyone they could, when they could, just because they could. The use of spray paint on their beaten down opponents and title belts. Cheating at every turn to win major world titles. Up until then, WCW had seen nothing like this. The wrestling business had seen nothing like this. WCW was somewhat floundering, but this new hot nWo angle completely turned that around. It was shock and awe. Here's Kevin Nash talking about the night the nWo came to the ring with the aluminium baseball bats, and how the show ended that night with the Charlotte police unbuttoning their guns in the ring.
So, lo and behold, we go out there that night, and we are coming to the ring, and people see us with these baseball bats. And Scott was the first one down, and he just took that baseball bat and slammed it on the top of that steps. And everybody went, holy, like, these guys got aluminum baseball bats. Well, I mean, I don't care who you are. You're not going to take a shot to the head with an aluminum baseball bat. You're going to get out of the ring. And we went off the air that night with the Charlotte cops actually unbuttoning their guns.
So the wrestling world was turned on its head. Ratings begun to go over to the WCW side and drop on the WWF side. For over 80 consecutive weeks, this happened. And some of the guys in the WCW were getting so overconfident with this that they thought they could actually put Vince McMahon out of business. Here, the Macho Man Randy Savage, former nWo member, speaks on this.
Yeah, I saw a lot of times, when, over a couple of adult beverages after a good nitro, that it was predicted by a few people that Vince would be out of business in 6 months. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't think these guys know Vince McMahon.
Macho Man.
He's a street fighter,
Yeah, he's not going to give up just like that.
You measure a guy when they're down, not when they're up.
Mm-hmm.
And indeed, the WWF did bounce back. There was no putting McMahon out of business, that's for sure. But someone, of course, the main man really behind all this, the one with all the ideas, that's of course Eric Bischoff. When it's all said and done, the nWo was his idea, and he was a massive part in making all of it happen. Originally he was a part of the WCW and was trying to take the nWo down, but eventually he would turn sides and become a member of the nWo. Bischoff was great on the mic, and even got in the ring a few times to show off his karate skills. Just played a huge part in turning this company around.
You got to give credit where credit is due, period. I mean, people rip him up too, but you know what, bottom line is he's the one that got Nitro going, and in the beginning he was a huge part of its success.
So as we say, the nWo's run was red hot, and it was. Started around mid-1996 and through 1997 with the hot Hogan Sting angle. But then we come to around mid-98, so about 2 years in, and the wheels would slowly start to come off. First, Hall betrayed longtime friend Kevin Nash at Slamboree that year. Then the nWo split off into two factions, the Wolfpack and nWo Hollywood. Then at one point it seemed like almost everybody was a member of the nWo at one stage or another, and the whole thing just kind of petered off to a slow death. They would try to revive it with the nWo Elite in 99 and nWo 2000, but none of these new ideas would last. But that first run, that initial run, they had about 2 years where they were at the top of the wrestling world. WWF countered with their own version that went against the establishment, of course, Degeneration X. One could argue which faction was better, who they favoured, but no doubt about it, the nWo did it first. And they were the hottest thing in pro wrestling at that time.
So what's the atmosphere backstage? You guys know that you got a lightning bolt in your hand, right?
Oh my God, it's like I'm thinking, yeah, this will probably work, and you're looking at it going, we made the Frankenstein monster. That son of a just walked up. He is alive.
So that was just a totally magic time in the world of professional wrestling, with the Monday Night Wars, with the WCW and the WWE both being at their very best at that time, competing with one another. And it was a really big thing at the time, a huge thing, when Hall and Nash came down to the WCW in 96. No one really knew if they were still with the WWF. There was no internet going off at that time, nothing like that. Hall just turned up on WCW television one day, interrupted a match, surprised everybody. Then Nash joined him not long after that, and they just totally took over the WCW. And with Eric Bischoff and the whole nWo, they just totally took over the ratings and took over professional wrestling 100%. They built a wrestling empire. It was new, fresh, and exciting. No one had seen anything like that in the world of professional wrestling ever. Bischoff and all the guys behind the scenes there at WCW, and Hall and Nash, I'm sure, should be credited for this as well, along with guys like Hogan, just on bringing these totally awesome ideas of creating the nWo to the fore and making this whole thing work. They just blew the WWE out of the water at the time. This nWo thing was new, fresh, and exciting, as I say, and boy did it work. Bischoff has always stated he wanted to do the complete opposite that the WWE was doing. They were doing cartoon-like characters and stuff like that. Bischoff wanted to make the WCW real, bring realism to it. And the nWo sure did that. Bringing in Hogan as your third man, having the whole Sting dynamic, having him change his character. It was a perfect storm. I am glad I was able to catch all that at the time, watching it on television. It could be a while before we see something like that in pro wrestling again. It really was a one-of-a-kind thing. Thanks heaps, guys, for tuning in as always. Be sure to leave your memories of the nWo in the comment section, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks heaps, guys, for tuning into the video. Be sure to drop a scorpion death drop on that like button and subscribe to the channel for more awesome pro wrestling action from the WWE, the WCW, and much more.